Hi, first grade. It is Miss Martin here. Today we are doing Chapter 9, Lesson 10. It is our last lesson in Chapter 9. And after this, you're going to go ahead and do your My Review page for Chapter 9. And then on Monday, you're going to go ahead and take your Chapter 9 math test. But today we're going to be talking about quarters and fourths. So the first thing that I need you to do is I need you to get out your vocabulary notebook if you still have it. And I need you to get out your pencil so you can write your name up at the top and that you can use it for the day. So we're going to go ahead and put our name up at the top. Name and number so Miss Martin can see it and make sure that it's yours. And before we get started, we need to look at our vocabulary word for the day. So yesterday we were talking about equal parts and halves. And if we were to split something in half, then that means that we're going to have two equal parts that were the same size that made up a whole. So two parts equal a whole. Well, today we're going to be talking about fourths. So you first got to decide and know what fourths means. So here's fourths. And fourths means four equal parts of a whole. Each part is a quarter or fourth of the whole. So just like yesterday how we were talking about halves and how if we have two halves, that makes it a whole. Two halves equal a whole. But if our object is split into fours, that means that those four parts equal a whole. And they have to be four equal parts. Okay, so let's go ahead, and they gave us on our first page right here, they want us to split our rectangle and our circle into fourths. So they want us to split our rectangle into fourths. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. So yesterday I showed you all the different ways you could split things into half. And there's a ton of ways that you can actually split things into fourths or quarters because they're the same thing. So if you hear the word quarters, you also need to know that that is fourths as well. So fourths and quarters mean the same thing. Okay, so for our rectangle right here, actually let me go ahead and I'm gonna draw out some shapes for us, and so I can show you the ways that they can be split in half, just so that way we have an example and we kind of know before they have us start doing a bunch of questions. Let me erase that real quick. Okay. So we have our rectangle that they gave us on our page, and they want us to split it into fourths. So remember, fourths have to be split into four equal parts, or quarters have to be split into four equal parts. Anything that we're doing, they all have to be equal parts. So for our rectangle, we can cut it into a couple different ways. So we can first cut it like this, so there are four equal parts, just like that. Or we can go ahead and our lines aren't going to be exactly, equal, because it's kind of hard to do that without special tools and everything. But we're going to try our best to make sure that they're equal. So you can do it across like that, do three lines across. Or you can draw like a plus sign so it kind of looks like a window. And that gives you four equal parts. Or let me see, what other ways can you split it into four equal parts? I think that's the only ways you can split it into four equal parts for our rectangle. So you can draw three lines across like this, or you can draw a giant plus sign and it will give you an equal or four equal parts. Okay, for our circle is a little bit different because for our circle there's only really one way to draw four equal parts. Because remember, equal, they all have to be the same. So really, it's you just, ooh, Miss Martin, oh my goodness. That is not an equal part line. We're just going to draw a giant plus sign, and that's how we get our four equal parts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you might be seeing on this worksheet when they will have it where it's split in half like that or split into fourths like that. But you might see it where our circle kind of looks like this and it's diagonal. It's the same thing, boys and girls. It's the same thing. It's still split into four equal parts, just like that. Okay, for our square, it's a lot like our rectangle and how we can split it. We can split it just like we did, like that, or we can draw our plus sign like that. Now the only shape that we can't split into four equal parts or into quarters is a triangle. So there's no way you can be able to cut your triangle into four equal parts. But I want to remind you real quick that fourths is the same thing as quarters. Okay, so fourths and quarters, and they all have to be equal sizes or the same size. Equal sizes or the same size. Okay, so now that we have kind of reviewed that, that makes this a little bit more easier to understand. Let's go ahead, and they want us to split our rectangle and our circle into fourths, and we just did that. I just showed you a bunch of ways that you can do that. So I want you to go ahead and do that right now on your own. Go ahead and split that into fourths. Okay, so pause the video and cut both of these into fourths or quarters. And then when you're ready to go, hit play, and we will go on to number 1. Okay, so now we're on our See and Show page. And so a whole that is separated into 4 equal parts is separated into fourths or quarters. So remember, fourths equals quarters, and they have to be equal sizes. And each part of a fourth or of a quarter, each part is a fourth of or a quarter of the whole. So right here on our circle, let me move Ziggy down so we can see a little bit better. Right here on our circle, each one of these parts is 1/4 of the whole part. You need all 4 parts to make this circle. You can't just have 3 or else you'll have like a half circle. You have to have all 4 of the parts. It's just like if you wanted to put a Lego car together and you want to be able to roll it around, but you only had 3 wheels. It's not going to run on, it might run on 3 wheels, but it'll run a little bit weird and it won't like drive as nice, and it might look a little weird too. It's the same thing if we only have 3/4 of our circle. We don't have all 4s. Can you imagine how looking at a circle like that? That would just look weird. Okay, so we know that we have to have 4 equal parts, and they have to be 4/4. Another way we can say it, and it's also called 4 quarters. So 4 equal parts, or we can call it 4/4, or we can call it 4 quarters. That's what they want us to do up there. So today's lesson is a lot like our lesson yesterday, as they just want us to number our equal parts and number how many parts that we have and that they have cut our shape up into. So for number 1, I'm going to kind of outline it because it's kind of hard to see. The yellow shows up really weird on these videos. So I'm just going to kind of outline it. Oh, I forgot to show you that we can actually cut our square up like that. We can cut it, do a nice little X, big X in the middle of it. So they want us to know how many equal parts. And now if you close your eyes and remember back to yesterday's lesson when I said that if we wanted to count how many equal parts, we have to make sure that all of our parts are equal. If there are parts that are not equal, then we can't count them. But luckily for us here on number 1, they have given us they've given us equal parts. We just have to count and see how many equal parts that they have given us. But we know if it is cut into fourths, we have to have 4 equal parts to make it a whole. Okay, so let's go ahead and count and see if we have a whole square there or if we're missing a part. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many equal parts do we have? Well, we just counted and we have 4 equal parts, or 4/4. It's like saying number 4 twice, 4/4. Okay, go ahead and look at number 2. So we have our circle. Let's go ahead and count and number each one to see how many equal parts that we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we know in this circle we have 4 equal parts, or 4/4, or 4 quarters. There's quite a lot of names we could have for this. Okay, now let's go ahead and bring it down to number 3. Let me outline it again tomorrow. Not tomorrow, oh my goodness. Outline it so we can see it. Okay, so now they want us to draw some lines. Ziggy is crooked, sorry guys. Okay, now they want us to draw lines to show 4 equal parts, and then they want us to write how many fourths we have. Remember, 4 equals quarters and equal parts. So we have our rectangle here. Miss Martin is going to go ahead, and I'm going to cut this one like this to get my 4 equal parts. So now I need to count how many parts I have here. I have 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, and 4 part. Or you can say I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. That one's kind of a mouthful to say though. So I have 4/4. Now moving on to my square. Remember, if I'm going a little too fast for you, you can always pause the video and catch up and then hit play once you're ready to go. But for our square right here, we need to cut it again into 4. So Miss Barnes is going to draw a big plus sign like that. So I know that's my parts that I've cut it into. Now I need to count how many parts I have, how many fourths I have. So I'm going to go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. How many fourths do I have? I have 4/4. Okay, so for our talk math down here, how are halves and fourths different? We remember yesterday that halves is 2 and fourths is 4. Now, one way that I always remember fourths, because sometimes you might get a little confused, I always remember fourths because the number 4 is spelt out in it. And you all should know how to identify this word because it was our spelling word for like 3 weeks. So we all know that fourths equals fourth because fourth is in the name. Okay, so that is all the work that I'm going to help you with today for our lesson. They want you to go ahead and for number 5 and 6, they want you to draw the missing quarter, just like we did yesterday when you had to draw the missing half to those shapes. They just want you to do the same thing again. So for here, it's like not a short rectangle. They want you to draw another square or another rectangle half or quarter, sorry. So that way it'll make a longer rectangle. And then here they need you to finish the circle. And then on number 7, we're going to do a number 7 real quick together. Okay, so they want us to color a fourth of each shape. Write how many parts are shaded. So they just want us to cover 1/4. So I'm just going to color one of my parts. And I have 1 of 4 parts colored. So I have 1 of 4 parts because I only have 1 of them, but there's 4 all together. Okay. Now, they want me to color 1 equal part and fill in the numbers. They want me to color 1 equal part of my circle. So 1 equal part, remember, is the same as 1/4 because all the parts are equal. So boys and girls, you're just doing the same thing. I'm going to color this one right here. I colored 1 equal part and then they want me to fill in the numbers. So I colored 1 of 4 parts because it's an equal part. Same thing for number 10. So 7, 8, 9, and 10 are basically the same thing. They just worded it, so they're trying to trick you. They just worded it differently. Okay, and lastly, flip it over to number 11. You don't have to do the hot problem if you don't want to. You can do it if you want to for extra credit, but you do not have to do it. Okay, so they want you to do number 11, and they want you to, they want you to break the cookie into equal parts. Okay, boys and girls, this is all you have to do today is lesson 10, and then you have my review. Go ahead and rewatch the videos or look back at your last work that we were doing before to kind of get a refresher for that, and then you get to take your chapter 9 test on Monday. So that is all for math today. If you still need help with this, don't worry, we're going to be doing a math Zoom meeting on Tuesday, and I hope that you all have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday for our Zoom meeting.